You're like dealing with businesses, right?
Yeah.
Anything specific, like maybe some advice if you want to deal with like Chinese counterparts and you're doing business and you're from America or Europe, like what would be the way to do it right?
In the West, we'd like to work with a lot of contracts and agreements and rules and things like that. When we do that here, signing a contract is the beginning of the negotiation. Yeah, so it's like things can change. The business mentality, like it's not because it's written in contract that it's going to happen that way. There is a lot of investment in time and relationship between two business partners that needs to take place to a much higher level. It's less contractual, but more like a social experience to get into a business. I mean, like there is certain obligations from both parties, of course. That's very clear. But countless suppliers, basically, like when there is a problem, we don't always like go in the office discussing things around the meeting table. No, well, we take the time maybe like to have a lunch or dinner, and we basically like look at solutions, and the format is very different. And I must say, like even in the most difficult relationship or business relationships, there is always like in the end a very collaborative approach. It's been very, very unusual to have a situation where there is absolutely no hope for negotiation or for an amicable settlement. It can happen. We should never rule out this eventuality, but I would say lots of business partners, Chinese business partners, would like to find a solution. They like to search for that.
Yeah. And let's say you're having a lunch with your like Chinese partner. You probably don't go straight to the business. You probably like ask about the family, this kind of thing. Yeah. That's how it works. Or you need to still like be precise about what you want.
When you engage into a business, of course, well, we are into the technical matters in what we do. So the exactitude, the precision, the accuracy, clarifying the demand is really, really important. What often happens, the party that we engage with is willing to engage into the business relationship, willing to try, takes it as basically like, okay, well, let's do business together. Not necessarily knowing what would be the outcome. It can be like that at a smaller business volume or like small business relationships. Maybe like, of course, when there is an investment from a big company into the country, the dynamic, as you can imagine, is very different. But then it becomes very contractual. But this engagement into a relationship is all about finding each other, helping each other, and there should be like gestures going in that sense from both sides. So that's the fair way of having a healthy deal between a foreign company and a local businessman.
Regarding the manufacturing in China, it's a huge thing. Is it still like the best manufacturing the products? It's still China is the best? Or India is compared to Vietnam is compared to now?
In terms of manufacturing, China has a huge capacity and also capability. There is no country that I can think of, no major economy that is built and capable of scaling up new technologies or industrializing new technologies better than China. Of course, there is a lot of companies, also of medium and small size, that would think of internationalizing, not putting all the eggs in the same basket. But I still believe that the China component into an international business in manufacturing is a big component of success. They are, of course, business is getting more and more difficult. Opportunities are harder and harder to find, but there are still some. And this is where companies need to really like think of adaptability, not reinventing themselves necessarily, but like improving themselves or going into like perfecting certain skills. And that's where still for foreign business like ours, there is plenty of opportunities.
Do you think that the world can decouple from China, that live without China? Because like after Trump elections, like all the tariffs and stuff. So is it really possible to basically, okay, we can live without China?
The simple answer is no.
Yeah.
There is if we really talk about the world and thinking of Asia, of China really like self-isolating itself, I don't even, it never really crossed my mind. But when it comes to the fragmenting or basically the reorganization of trade lines, this is something that is currently happening. Not always the way that we would like it to be, especially also as a Westerner, as a European.
Yeah.
We can't say that basically like the trade imbalance between the EU bloc and China has peaked. By the way, 2 years ago. Now it's going a little bit lower, but it's still very significant. So it's a problem to be addressed. Of course, there is like beyond the EU bloc, one very well developed economy, the US. One very fast developing, and we can say so now, new developed economies in China. There are some other economic power that also have a role to play. So the whole dynamic of the unipolar world is shifting, is drifting away. I'm a big believer that, and I hope in a Pacific outcome, that multipolar world is a possibility. It doesn't have to be building a huge sphere of influence. Of course, I would say that trade and what makes a power is a lot of influence. It's a byproduct.
Yeah.
But you have difference between being influential and important in the world and being hegemonic. And that's where I think there will be a lot of work to do, especially between the two most powerful nations, to make sure that, well, it sounds very like ideal and a bit dreamy, but I mean like that it happens without major disruption for all the rest of the world. So that's and that's where, you know, like I think what will play a very important role in the balance is the global south, the developing economies. China has gone through so many levels, from a primary economy to a secondary to a industrialization and now an economy of services, that, you know, and they do it in a way that it's not basically like agrarian economy is still very present. Yeah. They still care very much. They industrialize, and they're very strong in that, but they go into service without deindustrializing. And keeping these three components working well together makes it actually like possible to sell like lower added value trade goods to developing economies where they need it the most.
Yeah.
It's not a race necessarily to the technologies to say, okay, we want to be more advanced in space than the US. No, it's the three of them combined. And that's where I think there is hope.
There is hope. So
there is not, it's never going to be a simple task. Yeah. Even so slim can be the hope, maybe sometimes we can think. There is a possibility that, well, when people will have enough, when, you know, like the people from African nations, Latin America, maybe to a lesser extent, the Middle East will say, well, you know, like, I think we've gone a little bit too far. That's their voice, I think, will definitely have the merit to be heard, because that might be playing more and more into the balance.
What's the biggest lesson that China taught you through this 16 years?
Patience.
Patience.
Oh yeah, I'm a naturally impatient person. I like things to happen. I like them to happen fast, in an efficient manner. But still, even like in a very recent years, I had some gentle reminders that, you know, like not everything happens in the way that you always want. And the best way to deal with that is actually to build patience, to be a bit more empathetic, to be a bit more, you know, like considerate. So that's something that I think really like China has learned.